Hey, and welcome to a short video that will shed some light on the GOM House situation right now. I've read on Twitter this morning and also on Reddit and Team Liquid that there are quite a lot of rumors that the GOM House is going to shut down and the reasons behind that. And I just want to talk a little bit about it. But first of all, I want to tell all of you that this is just a personal statement. This is not like an official statement from GOM. I'm just trying to explain the reasons that I see and to the best of my knowledge, but yeah, just be aware that this is not like an official statement. So first of all, what I really want to do is to thank GOM for installing the GOM House in the first place and for running it this long. It gave me the opportunity to come to Korea, to cast Code A and to stay here for, yeah, I think like roughly a year now. So I've been here for almost a year, I think even a little bit longer than a year, and all of that time I actually spent here at the GOM House. I was pretty happy about it. But the things that are being said are, some of them at least, are true. So the GOM House will not continue after the end of the year, but it's not like GOM is shutting it down, like they have some kind of idea that they need to shut it down right now because it's not worth it anymore. It's just like that the lease is running out. So at the end of the year the lease will run out, and then the question is rather, do we continue the GOM House or should we just leave it at that? And they decided to not continue it, which I personally think is the right choice. I'll go into that in just a few seconds, but yeah, that's basically all there's to it. So it's not like, hey, StarCraft 2 is dying and we have to shut that down right now. All that drama that was made up in the last few weeks definitely doesn't come into play here at all. I've been here for like a year now, as already mentioned, and at the beginning we had all of the castles here. Doa and Moltrap were staying here, Wolf was staying here as well. So the GOM House was not only about the players at this point, but it was also about the Code A castles that were staying in Korea and trying to figure out if they wanted to commit to a long-term casting in Korea or not. So it gave us, all of the castles, the opportunity to come here in the first place, to experience Korea, and then to have a look if we want to continue working for GOM and then figure out what we wanted to do. So they always gave us the opportunity to stay at the GOM House, but we could also just move on and get our own apartment. From the players' perspective, it was pretty similar. When I came here, Sasa was here, Naniwa, Tots, and a few others were here at that point in time, and that kind of changed as well. Over the last year, more than 20 people have stayed at the GOM House occasionally. Players like Stefano have been here several times. We had Moro stay over for a few days when the NSOSA house was shut down. Well, not shut down, was just closed during the holidays or something like that. So he had to come here and stayed here for a few days, played some of his league games in one of the rooms. And it was actually pretty awesome. So the idea of the GOM House is, in my opinion, just amazing. It gives foreigners the chance to come to Korea to participate in Code A, in Code S, to have a shot at the qualifier and just to practice here. And what you have to realize is that it's actually really expensive in Korea to rent an apartment. The apartment that we have here is pretty big. I have no idea about the square meters, to be honest with you, but we have two main bedrooms that are equipped with bunk beds. We have this huge main area here and also the kitchen that is attached, two smaller rooms, two bathrooms. So it's a pretty big apartment, and therefore it also costs a lot because rent is pretty expensive in Korea, as I already pointed out. GOM supplied us with monitors and with computers. At some point they changed the processors in the computers, which made them a little bit slow. In my opinion, that's fine. The problem was that sometimes the communication was not the best. With a better communication, it just wouldn't have been a surprise. So people could have tried to adapt to the changes a little bit differently. But always, of course, the language barrier is always a bit of a problem, and I don't blame them at this point at all. It was just, in general, pretty awesome that they installed the house in the first place and that they equipped us with everything. We even had a maid coming once a week that tried to clean up the mess, because as you can imagine, if you have like several people from different nationalities and countries staying in a small area, in a small space, there is going to be some kind of mess. And it's also, of course, one of the reasons why we had some conflicts in the past. There were a few videos on Reddit that made quite a scene, quite a drama. Yeah, but in the end, I don't blame GOM at all of not continuing it. I think at this point it really makes sense, because if you look at what the GOM House produced in the last year, there has not been a lot in terms of actual results. It's of course awesome for players that get an invite into Code A or Code S to stay here. Naniwa has been staying here, as I just mentioned. Stefano was also here for a short amount of time, and other players as well. Sen, for example, when he participated in Code A, stayed at the GOM House, and so did a lot of other players. But the people that were invited, or the people that came here, I have to admit that with a few of them I had my personal differences, and I still think that they should not have been here in the first place, because not everyone treated it like the chance and opportunity that it actually is to train in Korea, to practice and participate at the qualifiers. You know that Mana, for example, he stayed here when he played in his up and downs, and even after that, he was one of the examples of a player that really put a lot of time and dedication into training. He practiced like all the time, and there were others that just didn't practice that much, that took it more like a vacation and not like an opportunity to practice hard. So there were all these differences that you had, and we didn't really have like a management in here. So I think GOM just hoped that the players would be able to manage themselves and to make sure that they take responsibility for the time being here. And unfortunately, quite often that was not the case. That was definitely one of the issues why the GOM House, in my opinion, is being shut down right now. Because without that proper management and without the ability of quite a few people to take responsibility and just make sure that everything is going as planned or according to the original idea, the results were just not what you would expect. And GOM had to think about it if it's really worth continuing it. Also, one of the things that changed, of course, is that now we have a lot of foreign teams in a cooperation with a Korean team, so that they can actually just stay at the Korean team house. The Korean team house, or most of them at this point, also just offer the opportunity for foreigners to go to the house, and then they pay a certain amount, pay a fee, and they can live with the team and practice there, which is one of the things that that some players will do in the future and are currently doing as well. So just these are all a few of the reasons why this house is not going to be continued. I personally have to say that when I read, I mean, Major, for example, wrote that he is especially grateful to GOM and that he improved a lot while he was here in Korea. I think this is true for like nearly everyone who really put time and effort into practicing here. This is one of the things that Mana stated all over again. Funka, his brother, who accompanied him to Korea, said exactly the same thing. And if you talk, for example, to Naniwa, he will also mention that being in Korea is just is a huge difference to practicing somewhere else, because the strategies are so different and the level of play is just incredible if you compare it to, for example, normal ladder play on the NA or the European server. So there have been players that have maybe not improved that much or that struggled after that. There have also been players here at the house that didn't really put that much time and effort in it, and yeah, maybe took it a little bit too lightly, more than like a vacation and a life experience. But in the end, I'm a bit sad that it doesn't continue. On the other hand, I plan on staying in Korea. I have I will probably get my own apartment then and move. But for now, I think it's absolutely okay that GOM decides to just not continue the lease, because if you look at it from their point of view, there has just not been a lot that came out of the GOM House. It's sad that we don't have the chance now anymore, that players can stay here when they get an invite. I'm not quite sure what kind of solution GOM is going to find for that. Maybe they will talk to the team houses and will try to find some kind of agreement there. Maybe there's going to be another solution. That's at least what I think. But I mean, there are just not that many players that were really able to go through the Code A qualifier and qualify, foreign players that is. I mean, most of you probably already know that. How many qualified? Like 2 in the entire history of the GSL, maybe 1. So there's not a lot. And yeah, there's no drama involved. It's just a decision that they made. I personally, I said it a couple of times before, I want to say it again. I'm really, really happy that they installed the house. I'm a little bit sad that the foreigners, and I think also a little bit the foreign StarCraft 2 community dropped the ball on that. There was a lot of talk about that the GOM House is not the perfect training place, but to be quite frank with you guys, I think that's a whole bunch of bullshit, because in the end it comes down to who is here. The house itself and everything is good, and it just depends on how you arrange your daily life and how you interact as a group, and if you really are driven by the same idea and by the same goals. And if you are, then, but that's only my personal opinion, but if you are, then I think it shouldn't be a problem to make an environment happen that allows you to practice and to develop as you want. because it comes down to the people that actually live here. So each group that lived here, in my opinion, had this chance and didn't take it. And this whole drama that was a little bit added just also adds up. I also think, yeah, nice German. I also think that it would have been quite nice if, for example, the foreign StarCraft 2 community would have appreciated it a little bit more. And I don't think that a lot of people realized how much money GOM put in this, and that the GOM House was really there. So I feel that it's not only a story of the players that are here, but all this reputation thing that was going on was, in my opinion, to a huge part undeserved, even though, of course, a Korean team house is the better training environment. I mean, nobody doubts that. That's a completely different story. You can't really compare that. But yeah, I would actually think that at this point in time it would be quite cool if people would at least let GOM know that they appreciate that the house was there, and you can, for example, send them a tweet at GOM TV, something like that, and just let them know that it was really cool and that there's that it's okay, that nobody really is angry with them. Or it's a weird way to phrase it, but I guess you know what I mean. It's just like, these are things that we had in the StarCraft community that no other communities, in my to my knowledge, have, and I feel it's a little bit underappreciated. So I feel that one could at least just drop GOM a note and let them know that it was pretty awesome that they ran this house for nearly 2 years right now, that they made sure that people, that casters, that players could stay here, and that just the effort that they put in is appreciated. I certainly will continue telling them, but it would be nice if you could maybe do that as well. That's it for today, so I hope if there are any open questions, just let me know.